Ruslan.
Topic of like using media and content creation for ministry purposes is really near and dear to my heart. Like as someone who I like to consider myself a filmmaker, I do a lot of work for my church. It's kind of my main outlet at the moment. Trying to break out more into like doing freelance client work.
Mm-hmm.
But my heart is really, for a long time, it's been really working with. I want to work with missionaries, nonprofits, and like kind of bring the realness and rawness you see with something like, Vice News back in the day. I think they've kind of gotten a little wonky. Like I literally want to do that, but about Christian issues and missionaries and things like that, like bring that same quality.
I love that, bro.
And so I think this is a really important conversation to have. And I guess I have two main questions. Firstly, what are your thoughts on show? I don't know if you've been able to see The Chosen,
I have.
But personally, I think it's incredible. I think it is arguably the best like direct biblical adaptation like that's ever been made, as far as like specifically about the life of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
They make these people real. There's so many moments where I'm like, well, this is it. Like this is what it's like to know Jesus. So my first question is, like, why do you think there is that lack of quality when it comes to like entertainment media, so to speak, specifically? And that kind of goes into music as well. And then what is the hope for shows like The Chosen, and like what can come in the future?
I think the reason why the quality of art suffers is because we make art that's ideologically driven, and when you're making something that's ideologically driven, it's going to hit a different litmus test than if like, let's just make the very dopest thing we could possibly make. Right. So I think that can become very difficult. And if you even think about like The Chosen, first of all, they're crushing it, and it's costing them $4 million a season.
I think it's $1 million an episode now. I think the first season may have been that, but season 2, they had to raise $1 million per episode, and I think season 3 is like $1.3 million per episode, something like that.
Yeah, you're right.
All crowdfunded.
I think you're right. Yeah. So in 2018, it was $400,000 per episode. Now it's probably increased to 1 million episodes. So they're able to do some really cool stuff without a lot of resources. Like that's actually fairly cheap. But if you think about even what's being made, like they have to go for the let's tell the Jesus story instead of like let's tell new stories that are driven by following Jesus. If you think about what works in Christian music, let's write songs about Jesus, worship songs drenched in scripture, instead of saying, hey, can we write songs that are driven by following Jesus, about love, about family, about relationships, money, whatever. So I think that is telling in and of itself of why The Chosen has to be the thing that Christians can just get behind right now. It is the thing that sometimes can be frustrating about being a Christian creator is everything has to be explicitly about Jesus instead of saying, can we talk about Jesus's ways?
Well, even with Dallas, he talks a lot about how they are intentionally going into what's probable, like because they like, okay, we're still trying to entertain people.
Yes.
So it can't be like literally all Bible all the time. Like especially like I love what they're doing with like some of the Pharisee characters. Where they're like humanizing these people. They're not just these mustache twirling villains, what Dallas says a lot. And I think a lot of people, it makes them really uncomfortable. Like I think it's so funny seeing comments like, well, John the Baptist wouldn't have talked like that. Like, bro, how do you know, man? Right. How do you know? Like, they were cousins. They literally were family. You know what I mean? Like, calm down.
Yeah, and I think, and I think that the criticism of it is so telling. It's so funny to me. So that's my general impression of it. What I think could happen, and this is where my brain goes. My brain goes to, if somebody wants to make art and media, what if instead of, needing to get this big production and this big set and this big thing and do $1 million an episode or $400,000 an episode, which is, by the way, money well spent. That's actually a really well funded project.
Especially compared to like, there's movies out there with higher budgets in the Christian world that are
not as good.
Like they're horrible. Yeah.
What if there is those guys that want to be filmmakers? Those guys that like dream about being filmmakers. But what if those guys learn to tell incredible stories on their phones in 3-minute or less short form content for TikTok, IG Reels, and YouTube Shorts? And what if those guys really press into the story? Because at the end of the day, it's about storytelling. It's not about the lighting and the production. Like, all that stuff's important. But if you could tell a great story and you could retain attention for a great story, and you could do it. I mean, you could shoot really good stuff just on an iPhone. I think that was, my brain goes, okay, what if that next guy that's, wants to be an incredible filmmaker is starting right now and is just shooting really good stories in the platforms that are native to today.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years from now, he has 10 million TikTok followers, 1 million YouTube subscribers, 1 million Instagram followers. That person could make the next series of The Chosen with way less infrastructure. The Chosen required a lot of infrastructure. They had to get an app, they had to get this. That person could just be like, yo, I made $5 million last year. I'm gonna go shoot my own series. If you guys want season 2, I'm gonna spend $2.5 million shooting my own series. If you guys want season 2, respect. This is how you can get season 2 funded, right? Like, that's where my brain goes, and I think that is vastly powerful, and we could see those types of models used to go beyond. And the same thing we're seeing with music right now. Like the top 5 songs on Spotify trending are songs from TikTok, original music from TikTok. I think that's where my brain goes, and that's what I'm excited for. So I would encourage filmmakers, hey man, instead of like trying to make everything perfect and the lighting perfect and the shot perfect, what if you just made the stories really good and shot them things on your phone?
Yeah, well, and I would say, like, on that kind of last thing I'll say is, like, I think one of my favorite Christian movies I've seen is this movie called Real. I don't know where you could watch it. I think it was like a Pure Flix film, but like the cinematography, terrible. The acting, terrible. Like they made every bad choice they could, but the reason why it stuck with me was because it was like these 4 interwoven stories of like people who have an encounter with Jesus, like where they're at. And it's, I feel like if I went back and watched it now, I probably wouldn't like it as much as I did when I was like a teenager. But I remember at the time, it was like, yeah, they made every possible bad decision about how it looks and how it sounds, but you could tell that somebody put a lot of effort and heart into like this story. Like there's like a scene where like, a guy like one of the clips is like a guy finds his wife in bed with another dude. He's like at a local bar, and the guy who plays Jesus is like in the corner playing pool, and they have a conversation in the bar. Like that kind of stuff. Like someone really cared about telling this specific story, and that's one of the things they always say in filmmaking is like, if you have good audio and your story is good, people are there. You know what I mean? Like you can cover a lot of things. So.
And the beautiful part is you could do that on a phone. You could really do that on a phone nowadays, man. And I think what happens is what my experience with filmmakers, this is my experience, this could be subjective and anecdotal, it doesn't have to be absolute, is that filmmakers will want to make it too perfect, and then they won't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, forget perfect, bro. Forget the get a freaking ring light. Like, get one of these little lights. Get your phone and a microphone and think through a great story and create a TikTok series around that story and build an audience based on being a filmmaker. And who knows where that can go. And I feel like that's the opportunity. And that's using TikTok in a way that hasn't been used yet. I haven't seen people shoot mini-series, right? But if you think about Issa Rae started on YouTube, telling really good stories on YouTube, and finessed that into a freaking media empire. Tyler Perry did really janky plays with the Medea character and crushed he was living out his car doing his first and now owns one of the biggest.
I think it is the biggest studio in the US,
biggest studio in Atlanta. Hires how many people, right? Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we have to be willing to die to our ego of wanting to be perfect in order to be productive. And I feel like if people can do that right now on the ground floor with the access that TikTok provides to a massive audience, there could be dozens, if not hundreds, of Issa Raes, of Pure Flixes, of Chosens, of whatever. I don't think we have the imagination of the possibility with the technology that we have right in our hands, and then therefore we make excuses and we say, oh well, I can't get access to a red, the lighting's not right, I don't have any actors, I don't know. No, make the story good, man. Make the story really good, and just start doing it. And the thing most folks will discover is the more you shoot, the better you'll get, the better you will get at writing, the better you get at writing, the more access to people you have, the bigger the audience. Then all of a sudden, when you're popping, your YouTube's growing, you'll be able to hire people. Like, and it all compounds, man. And it's really difficult for me to tell a filmmaker, hey man, take a couple steps back, shoot on your phone, get good at storytelling, and then you'll be afforded the luxury to make a $4 million project, right? But everybody wants to make the $4 million project or the $100,000 project without any of the wherewithal and the grind.
Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you found it valuable, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. You can check out one of the other videos related to this that'll be over here. Now, I gotta tell you about a free training I have for anyone that is an entrepreneur, a creative, an artist, but maybe you are unsure on how to find your voice, how to find your niche. I have a free training in the description of this video. Check it out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next video.